IELTS Band 9 2-question essay from Cambridge Book 14. In this video, I'm going to give you step-by-step instructions regarding how you can analyze task instructions, plan your essay, and then write your essay. I'm going to be showing you things such as how to write the introduction, how to write topic sentences, how to support your topic sentences with explanations and examples, and then how to finish it off and write a concluding paragraph. Finally, by the end of this, we'll have a Band 9 model answer in response to this task. Now, this is a 2-question essay. I also made a video on a both sides an opinion essay, and if you want to see that, I will put a link at the end of this video and also down in the description for this video. Okay, so let's jump in now and see how we can write this essay. Okay, so as always, we should start by looking at our task instructions, and the key part is in here. It's always in a box. It's going to look just like this on your test paper. So let's have a look at what we've got here. Let's read through it. Nowadays, many people choose to be self-employed rather than to work for a company or organization. Why might this be the case? What could be the disadvantages of being self-employed? Alright, so step 1 of planning your essay is to underline key words in the topic. This has got a couple of benefits. First of all, it's going to help you to clearly understand what the topic is about, and also we're going to need to paraphrase some of this anyway when we come to write our essay. A couple of reasons for doing it. Alright, so first of all, we can look at our topic and underline key words. Nowadays, many people choose to be self-employed rather than to work for a company or organization. Then we can start to rephrase some of these words. Choose, we could rephrase to decide, self-employed, work for yourself, or be an entrepreneur, rather than, instead of, work, employed at. There's other words: job, profession, career, company or organization, others, basically. Work for a company or organization is working for others, to be employed by others. So I've been rephrasing the topic. Now we should look at the questions. We've got 2 questions. This is a 2-question essay. And let's look closely at our 2 questions. Why might this be the case? Another way to say that is the reasons for it. What could be the disadvantages of being self-employed? What could be the drawbacks of working for yourself? Then what we want to do is have some key ideas to respond to these 2 questions. Now, with a 2-question essay, normally it's best to have exactly 2 main ideas for each of the questions. Now, sometimes students ask me, can I just have 1? Yeah, no problem with 1 for this question. Why might this be the case? Yeah, okay. If you have 1 really good reason, okay. A bit risky, because if you don't have a great reason, it's going to limit your score. Now, the second question, what could be the disadvantages of being self-employed? Now, some examiners may argue that this says disadvantages, plural, so you must have more than 1. To be honest, examiners are not supposed to be this strict in assessing the questions. However, in practice, this could occur. So I would say a risk-free approach to writing, you better have at least 2 disadvantages. And this is another reason why I like to have 2 main ideas for each of the questions. This, to me, is the best way. I don't suggest you have 3, especially don't have 3 for one and then 2 for another. This is unbalanced. And then the other issue with having 3 is that you're either going to end up with a really long essay, or Or if it's not a long essay, then you're just not going to be able to develop your key ideas well enough. So let's start off then and look at the key ideas for the reasons why people want to have their own business. And I've got two here. Interest or motivation in having your own business, and then better career prospects. Okay, and then the second question, the drawbacks, I'm going to talk about the risk and that it's more stressful than working for somebody else. Step 4 in planning, we want to decide on the structure for our essay. And actually a 2-question essay can always be structured the same way. I've got another video on how to structure 2-question essays, and if you feel you want more guidance on how to structure these essays, you can have a look at that. Have a look under my channel. You should be able to find that video. If I remember, I'll put the link in the description below this video. So essentially we want to have 4 paragraphs. We want to have an introduction where we rephrase the topic and then introduce both questions. Okay, this is pretty standard for every type of essay, that we want to rephrase the topic and then say what the essay is about, which in this case is the 2 questions. Then for the second paragraph, we want to respond to question 1. We want to have our 2 main points about why people want to have their own business. Then we can write another paragraph about question 2, which is the drawbacks of having your own business. Then we write our final paragraph where we want to summarize the main points from our essay. Summarize your main points about each question. So essentially we're going to be summarizing the 2 main points for each question. Okay, then on to writing your essay. We're going to start writing our essay by paraphrasing the question. Okay, so we're going to use different words and possibly a different sentence structure to rewrite the topic for this essay. Just to recap, there's always 2 parts to the task instructions: our topic and then our questions. So we want to start by paraphrasing this topic here. Let's see how we can do it. Remember, before at the very beginning of our planning, we underlined key words and we came up with some synonyms. Now these are useful right now, and this is why it's good to start off by doing this, by paraphrasing, by rephrasing the given words. And as I said, there's 2 reasons for it. One is so we can understand our essay better, and secondly so that now that we start writing, we've got these words all ready to go. So let's see how we use these words and write our first sentence. Many people these days decide to work for themselves instead of being employed by others. Then we need to rephrase our 2 questions to introduce to the reader what our essay is about. This essay discusses the reasons for this and the drawbacks of this choice of career. Okay then, so just quickly the introduction again. Many people these days decide to work for themselves instead of being employed by others. This essay discusses the reasons for this and the drawbacks of the choice of career. Okay, now then we should move on to the body of the essay. But by the way, if you're wondering where all this text comes from, I have a book that I've written, and that's where all this is coming from. I'll put a link to the book in the description below this video. Now, in terms of the structure of the paragraph, we've got a number of options, and I'm just going to show you one approach that you can use to writing the paragraph. Remember, we're going to have 2 main ideas in our paragraph. Okay, so we should start with a topic sentence. We should make it clear in this topic sentence which of the two questions we're responding to. This helps the reader. Then, after doing this, we can move on and introduce the first idea, which I'm going to introduce as the main point. Then I'm going to go on to explain the main point and then give an example to illustrate it. So basically explaining and using examples are the two main ways to develop our ideas in our paragraph. Then I'm going to move on to the second point, which is going to be a minor point. It's going to be a less important reason. And then in this instance, with this sort of structure, we've got 3 sentences for our main point, and then we've got 2 for our minor point, for our less important point. And so you could use either an explanation or example. I'm going to be using an explanation to develop my second point. Okay, so let's see how we need to write this paragraph. First of all, we need a topic sentence. Since I've got 2 main ideas in this paragraph, I need a general topic sentence to introduce these 2 ideas. So I've got, there are 2 main reasons why people are choosing to become self-employed. Okay, now I've got to move on to my supporting sentences. I begin with the explanation. I begin by introducing my main reason. The main one is that people feel motivated to become entrepreneurs. Then I go on to explain this. This is because they see running their own businesses as an exciting challenge. All right, now I'm going to give an example. Now, in this case, I'm going to give a personal example. Now, a lot of people think that this is not okay. They think I can't give personal examples. Yes, I can. Let me show you why. If we look at our task instructions, now these instructions are on every single, the box, this square here changes for each test. What's outside the box doesn't. This language always occurs. Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. So a personal example is from your experience, and these are good ways to support what you're trying to say, to illustrate your main idea. So let's look at this example. For instance, I was bored with my regular job teaching at a school, and so I started my own online IELTS teaching company in order to have a more stimulating workday. Okay, so this example clearly illustrates the point about people feeling that running their own business is an exciting challenge. Okay, so we've completed the first half of the paragraph responding to the reasons why people are starting their own business. Now I'm coming on to my second point, my sort of lesser or minor reason. We signal to the reader that we're changing to another idea using the phrase in addition. This is an aspect of cohesion and coherence. It guides the reader and makes it easy for the reader to see that we're switching to another idea. Let's see this idea. In addition, running your own business can lead to better long-term career prospects. And then the explanation of this: if you work hard at your business and develop enthusiastically satisfied customers, you will be deriving all the benefits rather than passing these on to an employer. Now, if there were time, I might write another sentence just to clarify this point, but we have to bear in mind that we only have 40 minutes to write this essay, so I have to resist the temptation to keep writing and developing this idea because I've got to get on to the next paragraph. And by the way, this essay is just over 300 words, so I really just don't have the time to write another sentence, even though it would be nice to. Now we need to start a new paragraph, and we need to send a signal to the reader that we're now going to be moving on to question 2 about the disadvantages of running your own business. So here's what we've got. Running your own business is not without its drawbacks. And then we want to introduce our first point, which is our major point. The biggest downside is the risk of venturing out on your own. Okay, so we're introducing the element of risk. Now we're going to explain it. If the business is not successful, you will not have an income. Now we signal the example to the reader. And note how I'm not using for example all the time. We can paraphrase this, rephrase to for instance. So we've got the personal example again. For instance, my uncle opened a restaurant, but it turned out his cooking skills weren't as good as he thought, and he couldn't attract enough customers to pay all his bills, and finally he became bankrupt. Okay, so an example to illustrate the risk of having your own business, bankruptcy. Signal to the reader that we're moving on to a new point. As well as this, it can be extremely stressful to run your own business. And then we want to explain this point to our readers. This can often be due to the lack of resources to help you with issues such as the need to run your own website. End of the paragraph. Again, I have to resist the temptation to keep explaining this point because I've got to write my conclusion, and probably time would be running out by now because I've written about 270 words at this point. Okay, this brings us to the conclusion, and there are 3 things that we can do in our concluding paragraph. First, we should signal to the reader that this is the concluding paragraph, so that this is 100% clear. We can use a phrase like in conclusion. This is my recommended phrase for every single essay that you write, because this phrase can be used with every single essay. You want these sort of things. You don't want to have to be making decisions in your test that aren't necessary. It wastes time and leads to potential risks. The next thing we should do is summarize the main points from the body of the essay, the 2 reasons, the 2 drawbacks. Then, if time permits, the icing on the cake, give a final opinion or recommendation based on the summary that you write. This is what's needed for getting to 8 for task response. Alright, so let's have a look at our concluding paragraph then. Signal of the start. In conclusion, many people are venturing out on their own due to their interest in running their own business and believing that they will have a better career. So we've got first cause. So we've got the first reason, interest. Second reason, a better career. Now we've got another sentence to summarize the drawbacks. And I suggest that you do this as well, that you have another sentence. It's possible to write it as one big long sentence, but it's difficult for the reader to digest a sentence with 4 main ideas in it. So, however, this sort of emphasizes the shift. The previous sentence all sounds positive. The interest, the having a better career, and now we're sort of moving on to the the disadvantages in essence of this situation. However, it should be kept in mind that this can be risky and stressful. So we've got drawback 1, risky, drawback 2, stressful. And now let's see what the icing on the cake is, the final opinion or recommendation. This one's a recommendation based on the summary, based on our main ideas. Therefore, this type of career is not suited to all people. I hope you found this video useful. If you thought it was excellent, please click like. This will help the video get promoted and be seen by other students. Also, subscribe to me so that you will get notifications each time I release a video. Finally, if there's a video you'd like me to make, please type me a message down in the comments. I'm always looking for new ideas and to know about things that you'd like to see videos on. I hope you found it useful.